Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby, move.
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby. Abedimpo,
Oh na na na, yeah.
move on, baby. Abedimpo,
Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby. Abedimpo,
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby. Abedimpo,
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby. Abedimpo,
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising song.
Abedimpo,
Oh na na na, yeah. Go rising sun.
Abedingo, call me Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby.
Oh na na na, yeah.
People as residents of this country. Their official language is Arabic and French, and they also have Berber. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but yeah, that's the three official languages that they have. The official religion for the country is Islam. Their national currency is the dinar. The some of the food or the most popular food that they have is the couscous. And we're going to put a picture for you to just see what the couscous look like, and also a picture of the currency so you see how it looks like. For their presidential type, they have presidential republic. Their current president is Abdel Majid Tebboune, and the prime minister is Abdulaziz Gerard. So if we can please project the currency and the food before we move forward. Okay, so that's the currency. That's the dinar. That's the currency for Algerians. And then also a picture of the couscous, the food. We'll talk a little bit about the flag, but we're going to look at the food real quick. Okay, so as we are finding the pictures, let's just go on. So these are some facts about Algeria. For life a few fun facts about Algeria. They drive on the right side of the road. 4 in every 1,000 people die every day in Algeria. They have free healthcare, which was introduced by their government in 1974. So, unlike some developed and undeveloped countries, they do have access to free healthcare. The literacy rate is 80%. More men can read than the women. And one thing that was quite interesting when I was reading about them is that their country actually owes no other country anything whatsoever. And then finally, 70% of the lawyers in the country are actually women. 60% of the women, sorry, 60% of the judges in Algeria are also women. And they were known as Numidia before they became Algeria. They were also colonized by the French or the France or by France, sorry. And they got their independence July 5th, 1962. So the day right after Americans' Independence Day, that's Algeria's Independence Day. And now we're gonna just take a look at their flag, and then we're just gonna say something brief about what it symbolizes, and we're gonna move on today. So the color of their flag is green and white with the red, and it says that the national flag of Algeria consists of two equal vertical bands of green and white, a red five-pointed star within a red crescent, and is centered over the two color boundaries. The crescent, the star, and the color green are traditionally symbols of Islam and is the official religion in Algeria. So, if you're watching me, I hope you got something from this little short segment about Algeria. And moving forward, we are going to be bringing you all the other countries in Africa. Most times, people confuse themselves and believe that Africa is a country. It's not, it's a continent. And like I said earlier, we have 54 countries. The first one, when you go in alphabetical order, is Algeria, and that's what I just told you about. So thank you all so much for being with us today. Please remember to kindly subscribe if you've not subscribed. Please remember to share the link so others can join as well. I'm so excited today because I have a panel with me. I have to my right a group of guys, and to my left a group of young women. Today's conversation is going to be very interesting, and I hope that we are all open-minded to hear the point of views of all these individuals that I have here. They are coming from different walks of life. They are coming from different age groups. But definitely one thing we all have in common sitting up here, we are all Ghanaians. And so please enjoy the show with us today. So they always say ladies first, right? And I'm a lady. I've already started. I've mentioned my name, so I'm gonna go from the right because traditionally in Ghana or in the Ashanti tribe, we cut across this way. We don't cut across this way. So, Mister with the red hat, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we're gonna just come down the line.
My name is Kwame.
Your full name, sir?
Full name.
Yes.
My name is Kwame Boache. I'm 23. I live in Saxy.
What do you do for a living?
What do I do for a living?
Yes,
I
sir.
work as a specimen technician for diagnostics.
Okay.
And I've been working there for about a year now.
Okay. What do you like to do for fun, leisure?
Leisure time these days. Usually I used to play soccer,
Okay.
but these days there's not much going on. So I usually stay indoors and stay with my older sister, play some of the Nintendo DS or just watch some cartoons or stuff like that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Next.
Hello, this is my name is Sandy Kusi. Nice to see you guys again. 22, student, fitness, fashion enthusiast.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
My name is Albert Perkul Sapon. I am 22, recent college graduate. I right now I'm applying to medical school.
Mhm.
And for fun, I love to play basketball and exercise.
You got the height for it, but I can beat you on the court, though.
I haven't
You don't think so? Okay, next.
Hi guys, my name is Amma Prempe, an undergraduate at UTD, and for leisure time, I like to watch movies.
And your age?
Oh, I'm 22.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I go to Texas Wesleyan. I'm an education major. I'm 22, and I like to cook for fun.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Abigail Nkansa. I'm 15. I'm a freshman at the moment, and I like to play sports.
Okay, when you say a freshman, freshman in what grade school?
Oh, I go to Mansfield High.
Okay, all right, thank you. So now we're gonna cut across this down this way. So Abigail, what are you aspiring to be in the future, career-wise?
I want to be a surgeon at the moment, but
Okay,
I'm working on doing other different healthcare careers.
okay, a surgeon, right?
Yes.
Okay, next.
I like to be a teacher.
You have to talk louder.
I want to be a teacher.
Okay,
I would go into like the medical field, but I don't know exactly what I
you
want to
wanna
do.
do? Okay, Mr. Albert, it's on.
I want to become a physician. So right now I'm in the medical school application process. Um, and I just want to further my education going forward.
Okay, okay, Mr. Sandy.
So I'd like to start off with software engineering, start with my own business.
Okay, Mr. Kwame.
I have, I want to become a researcher
Okay.
based in the biological field, mostly in healthcare. I majored in biotechnology, which I graduated with, and I'm actually starting a master's program in August. So hopefully that grants me the opportunity to do that.
Okay. All right. So thank you everyone that's watching us today. My name is Owusua or Abna Owusua. This is Owusua TV. Please remember to subscribe, and kindly share the link to anybody on any of your social media platforms so they can subscribe. They can join in anytime we sit to have these discussions. So now we've gotten to know our panel and we're about to dive into our conversation. So on this slide, when we say Africa, what do you guys think? As Africans, as we all are, when you hear the word Africa, or when you're on the street and you hear somebody saying Africa, what comes to your mind?
I guess I go ahead. It's a very broad, it's a broad question for me. But to me, the first thing that pops into my mind when I hear, on a positive connotation, is much more culture.
Okay.
There's a lot of different cultures in Africa. So the first thing that pops in my mind is like culture. Because even in West Africa, even in Ghana, there's so many varieties of like cultures and like ethnic groups there. Um, the negative aspect, if you hear somebody mention it, it much more has to deal with poverty and kind of lack of resources.
Okay. Anything else any of you guys want to add before we move to this side?
Yeah, you said culture, I would just say diversity. Africans, I guess like when I think of African, I think of like Ghanaian, like Nigerian. That's probably what most Americans think of. But I mean, you have Sudanese, South Africans, it's like a lot of
Different people. Okay. Mr. Albert, you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, I think of like my friend here said, like diversity, but I also think about the different regions of Africa between West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, South, Southern region of Africa, and then particularly Northern Africa.
Okay.
You know, Sub-Saharan Africa and above the Sahara part of Africa. Those it's almost like two different worlds, but it's the same continent.
Yeah.
So I imagine how people live in these different places, like in Algeria, Libya, Morocco, but then also in Ghana, Nigeria, Togo, and then in Zimbabwe, DRC, Rwanda, places like that.
Okay. All right. So, ladies, the same question. When you guys are all out on the street or at any point when you hear somebody say Africa, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
how people stereotypical it for like us living with lions and living in jungles instead of actual houses.
Okay.
That's the first thing that pops in my head.
Okay. Thank you.
The one thing that pops into my head is the like is respect because kids from Africa are more respectful.
Okay. Thank you.
I think of language.
Language.
Yeah, there's so many different types of languages in Africa, especially like in Ghana too. There's I know it's like there's like a lot of languages there that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like so it's like nice to know that like there's like different types of languages there. So that's what I'll say.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. So now, what is it that you guys believe that Africa as a continent has to offer to the world, but people don't see it that way? Yes. Okay.
We have that people don't see.
Yes. A lot of people, like it goes by without people noticing that Africa is offering this to the world.
Potential for true infrastructure
Okay.
is very high. I don't want to say people don't see. Maybe the common person wouldn't see.
Okay. But there are a lot of common people in this
Yeah,
world
a lot
now.
of common people in this world
Yeah.
that don't see how Africa itself is growing in terms of, you know, the urbanization.
Okay.
Cities in Ghana, if you go to Accra, is urban environment,
Mm-hmm.
right? People have access to the internet, to technology. Globalization is very big in
Yeah.
Africa, and I think people don't see that Africa right now. I mean, it's such a growing and so much potential in the continent for to become just as powerful, if not more powerful than
Other countries, other
other,
continents.
other continents. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anybody on this side? What do you guys think that Africa has to offer to the world, but yet people don't see?
I would say the riches, like Africa, like in different parts of different countries, especially Ghana has gold and all that. But I feel like people don't see that because the first thing that people think when it comes to Africa is, oh, they don't have water, they don't have this, they don't have that. But in fact, we do have it. But you just stereotypical it to make it seem like we don't have it.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody want to say something on this side? No. On this side, you want to add?
I was thinking, kind of broad, but I guess I would say the way of living.
Okay.
We live in a totally different lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing the differences here that we live in both sides of the world, it's very impactful in my daily now. And I think if people are much more open-minded to see how other people live their lives, it will help them improve their way of thinking and not kind of being caged in the way that they think. Even though, as you mentioned, it may seem to the world that Africa has lack of resources and all that stuff. Yes, we do have our resources, and we do have some towns and villages that have the lack of resources. However, people still tend to succeed in those regions. And that way of living from there, coming up from, having to sweat every morning. I know you may hear your mom and dad joke about that every day, but it's
Yeah.
really real. And doing all that stuff and still managing to either focus on education or focus on business or some form of way of living and finding ways to succeed and help out your family. So I think that's great.
Okay, now I'm gonna get personal. So, individually, I want you guys to tell me, as African and specifically as Ghanaians, what do you guys believe you have to offer to the world that make you stand out from every one of your colleagues or your schoolmates or anything solely because you're African? Okay.
My next question asked me the exact same question.
Or maybe I read it. I'm just kidding. I have not.
It's true. I mean, we have so much of like as an individual.
Yes.
And myself.
As Kweku, what do you have to offer to the world as a young African man?
Because for me in my life, I spent the early parts of my life in both here and there.
In Ghana,
So I got to see
both lives.
lifestyle that my life. So I get to offer perspective.
Okay.
I get to offer
Empathy.
I've been there
Yeah.
and I've seen how people live there,
Hmm.
and I see how people are here, and you see the duality
Yeah.
in the lifestyle. Particularly for me, going into medicine, I will have the ability to connect with a wider range of people as
Hmm.
a physician versus and have that patient physician interaction that's more personal because I understand the lifestyle of in the household of somebody from that region of the world.
Hmm.
So I think that's what I can
That's
offer
what
to
you
the
have to
table.
offer. You certainly have a lot to offer. Huh. Okay. Mr. Sandy, what do you have to offer to the world as a young African man?
I don't want to say the same thing you did, but yeah,
You can say it. If you have to copy, there's no issues with me.
I mean similar to yours, also another sort of perspective. I'm not gonna get into my story because it's complicated, but yeah, just seeing like coming up one way in I guess like the American standardized system, and then being embedded into an African home and seeing how different things are, and then going back into then yeah traveling there and traveling to different places and seeing how things are. Just you start thinking of things different. You can also see how people grow up one way, and I mean that's all they've seen, so that's all they know.
They know.
So
Okay.
that's my
That's
perspective.
what you have to offer. Mr. Kwame, what do you have to offer?
Similar, but to me, I would like to call it much more of kind of like a vision.
Okay.
Because in the healthcare field, which I'm gonna be like in the back scene, so I'm just looking at people's diseases and stuff. I'm not gonna be on the field helping people.
Yeah.
But however, both sides help, and to me, what I see in the field that I want to get into, or at least just living, um, kind of providing the perspective that um, our work can go beyond what we have right now. Yeah, I think in America, people tend to work to sustain themselves in their own household. However, growing up back home is not just about your household; it's about your community. It's
Yeah.
about the nation, really. And it might sound a little patriotic, but it's a little different from that. Since because we all kind of grew up in similar situations, where everybody have similar struggles or similar success, it is much more. I guess our people are much more generous, so we tend to kind of hold each other's hands and help each other more to
Yeah.
get out of any situations that we can, whether it be infrastructural or health wise, and the vision that I talk about basically kind of encompasses all that stuff and brings it back to being much more aware that our work that we do here can impact more than the people in our own community here. It can not necessarily say it can go global, but we can work in a way where we impact people outside of our reach. Sending it back home or to other countries that we may not think we can have a reach in. But the more we expand our horizons, we can find people that we can affect with the work that we do.
Yeah. That's very
Thank
true.
you. So, Amma, what do you, as a young, beautiful lady, have to offer as an African lady to the world?
I think, like my story, my background,
Mm-hmm.
my experiences is what I can offer to the world. Because just like he said, like in Ghana back home, like everyone's willing to help each other out. Everyone is, yeah, willing to like lend a helping hand. And like the culture here in America, it's like every man for himself, and it can be very like disheartening because it's like you want help or you want to understand how something works or you want to get to a certain point but you don't know how, and like there's people with like those resources or that knowledge but they're keeping it from themselves. They're being selfish basically because they don't want the other man or the black man or whatever to get to that certain level that they want to be at or they're at right now. So I think uh, yeah, being able to do that is very important in any like career you're in or any like life situation you're in. It can be like the smallest thing can, you know, make a huge impact for someone else. So I think that would be it.
Okay, camera and technical group. Somebody said that the mics are very low, so I think people are having difficulties hearing us. So if we could please increase the volumes, that would be wonderful. So Michelle, what do you believe that you have to offer the world as a young African woman?
I would say also empathy because growing up here and growing up in Ghana, like I don't remember a lot of things from Ghana, but my sister tells me about it and I'm like okay that I remember. So I think that my understanding for what kids over here are going through and what the idea of what kids over there are going through. So that's what I think.
All right, Abby, what do you believe that you have to offer to the world as a young African woman?
I feel like my wisdom,
Okay.
because I feel like people over here, they take everything for granted. Because, like, you already live in a huge house, you don't need anything else. And so, like, when they go to school, they don't pay attention, they don't do anything. But as Africans, you realize, oh, I need to work hard for my parents and for the people back home. I need to make money and do all this stuff. But then the people back here, they're like, no, I don't care about anybody else. I have me and myself to take care of. So that's what I would say.
Okay, I heard a lot of me culture, like from what you guys are saying. Is that like a reality in America, or is that a generational thing?
Yeah, no, it's the world. It's where we live. I mean, and they call it in psychology is the individualistic person or society versus the collectivist, right? We, as where we come from, we are collectivists. So we more so focus on community and you know the community aspect of how they say it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Your back home in Ghana, your neighbors' neighbors, they know who you are, they know how you grow, right? Here in America, and this is more of like a first world versus third world dynamic. People are more so going to focus on themselves, you know, their nuclear home, right? It's the nuclear home mindset. They're going to focus on themselves and their family, and when they leave the house, they are focused on their own legacies and
Ambition.
yeah, they're not worried about the people next to them. Right. That's just the world we live in terms of the difference between America and back home.
Back home.
So that's why, like, that's the thing I was gonna say. The ability to educate people on that ideology in this country. That's what we have. We have that ability to be able to tell others, like, oh, this is why our traditions are like this. This is why we believe so much in this, in calling our mom's friends auntie and doing the little things like that. Those they come from our culture. They come from our perspective on life, as opposed to here where people are not more. They're not going to be inclined to do those kind of things. So that's the difference between these two cultures.
Okay. So are we all agreeing that the me culture is more American than more generational?
It's it's more American, but I think as generations go by and more of us come here and are raised here, we become like that. We become acclimated to our environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Kwame, looks like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say the same thing. I think it's an American thing. And the more you live in a certain country, the more you're gonna become acclimated to that culture as well. So, I mean, as different generations of Ghanaians and other Africans come through, if they're not like in tune with the culture of their parents and their ancestors, they're most likely going to forego that and just pick up the American culture. And I mean, we can see now, even the people that have their parents who lived at home and all that stuff, they still tend to be much more American, which is not necessarily a bad thing because
Okay.
they do live here. So it's understandable that they would have that cultural mindset of this country. However, in order to, I guess to broaden your horizon, having both sides is very impactful because it opens your mindset to like seeing things that you most likely wouldn't if you just focus on the individualistic lifestyle.
Okay. What about you guys? Any comments you want to add to that?
No, I think they said everything.
You think they said everything? Okay. So now I want us to come down to what are some of the myths that we hear out on the street about Africans? I mean, I think I'll start. Abby said people normally believe that Africans, we live on trees. Some believe that we have lions as pets. and all that kind of stuff. So, what are some of the myths that you guys have heard in your time about Africans? You guys can feel free.
I mean, they write themselves, really.
These narratives write themselves. It's beautiful.
Like, the names are like, they're like a whole, like you can't pronounce your name. The teacher can't pronounce your name, and it's like
Oh,
5 or 10
my
different
goodness.
names.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So when you guys are in school, right,
Uh-huh.
and sometimes, especially when there are substitute teachers, this was in my time. I don't know if it was
No,
like
it
that in
still
your
is.
time. When they get to your name and they are having like the hardest time, sometimes your name is even simple. Like I can use myself for an example. Abna is just 5 letter words. It has gotten so bad at work I have to go by Abby. A lady asked me this Friday, she was like, but what's the difference between Abby and Abna? They are almost like the same number of letters in it. And I said, well, at a certain point, I got tired of like what I was hearing. So when you guys hear people like struggling or acting like they're struggling, trying to say your name, what does it make you feel? Or how do you guys think about like having such names?
Yeah.
I think when I was before, I have an American first name, so I didn't have to deal with that until people started learning about my other name.
Your last name.
My last name, they don't say it right, but I accepted that years ago.
You accepted
I
that.
accepted it. I accepted it years ago. I guess. I mean, at this point, it's just for me. It's like okay.
It's pointless.
For those who are close to me, I'll emphasize this is how you say my name.
Okay.
But for those that are not, I'm like,
You let it go.
yeah, let it go. It's just life.
What about you guys?
I mean, it's very funny how you said your name is like, so it's only 5.
Yeah.
How can you mispronounce Abna?
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me. It's like, my name is Kwame. It's like short, concise,
Yeah.
Kwame, right? You would think, but apparently people make up variations of themselves. You hear Quam, you hear Quam, they'll say the KWA Qua, and they're like, how do you say this? And I'll be like, Kwame. They'll be like, Kwame or Kwame, and then I have to argue with myself on how to pronounce my own name. I think I'm still young, but in the early stages of my life, like 4 years ago, I would struggle trying to kind of reach that gap and explaining my name to people or telling them, they also, people tend to ask, oh, what does your name mean? I mean, Saturday born. It's not much there, but, but now I'm much more okay with explaining my name to people and explaining my culture to other people. But similar to Albert, I'll do it if I have to. If I don't, I just kind of have to move on because I'm not gonna sit here and educate you about who I am. I'm not gonna ask. You're not educating me about who you are. Why do I need to explain myself? Kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Sandy?
No, I'll just say like probably to them, it seemed like a small thing, but that's again with like the culture. Like your name is like your family. So like when you go out somewhere and they see you and they call you by your name, like that carries all of the weight. So yeah, I mean, just like people mispronounce it and stuff like that. It comes to a point where you're just like, okay, you know what?
You don't
Like,
care anymore.
I mean, because you can't like. I mean, they're not doing it intentionally, but they don't understand it. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like they don't
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
Like
What
that's-
about you guys? How do you guys feel when people are struggling trying to say your name?
Okay, so for me, I'm the only one with like in my family without an English name. So my dad just left it as Ama or Nanama. So like when I was younger, I didn't like the sound. So like people will say like Amma or Ama or I'm just like, okay, let's just stick with Emma. So I just told him just call me Emma, right? But it's Amma, right? So but then like I would just tell everyone like at school or whoever I would meet, just call me Emma. But then now that like I'm trying to be more confident in like my name and like to stick with it, and so sometimes like I would tell them Amma, but then sometimes like I would I don't mean to like forget. It was just like since I'm so used to telling people Emma, so it's like sometimes
You've adopted the
yeah
wrong
yeah. So
pronunciation.
sometimes people would call me Emma, and then some people would call me Amma, or but they won't say Amma because they don't know how to say that. So at this point, like I don't know. Sometimes
Don't
it's
care.
it's not that I don't care. Like, I actually really care because it's your name. It's who you are. Like, it's your identity. So, and it's like, it's what your parents have given to you. It's part of your, yeah, it's part of who you are and stuff like that. So, for me, yeah, I do care. So I'm trying to like stick by it and make sure that that is what you call me by because that is who I am. So like I've grown to accept it, like to be more confident in it.
Okay.
So yeah.
What about you, Michelle? Your name, like your first and your last name, almost seems like it's easy to say.
It's really easy. My name is like literally Michelle Agri, but I've heard Misael. Like I remember
Isn't
on
that
Misael?
spelling of
yeah,
your
I
name?
think how it's spelled. I think on graduation, high school graduation, I literally had to spell my name like how Michelle Obama spells her name, and I had to put like agree like AGGRE in order for the person announcing my name to say it right. Cause like during rehearsal, she was like Misael. Agaga. I'm like, no, like it's like really simple. It's Michelle Agri. And like even my name, people have a hard time saying it. So like imagine you guys' name. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
What about you, Abby?
For me, it was always my last name.
Mhm.
But the thing is, my teachers, they were aware they weren't going to pronounce it right. So they would be like, I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. And then they'll
So
ask
they
me.
apologize.
Yeah, they would
Yeah,
always apologize.
apologize
And then they're
before.
like, how do you pronounce it? And then I would tell them. But then when it comes to substitute teachers, when they would come, they go down the list, I'm like, you know what, forget it. I don't feel like talking to you right now about how you pronounce it right. So I just go with it.
Okay, so now let's share what are some of the challenges that you guys believe you faced specifically because you are Africans? You had to sit down. Huh? Is that bad? You want them to go first?
First, I'll go.
Okay. You guys want the ladies to take it
Actually,
first?
the ladies.
Ladies
Oh.
first. What are some of the challenges you guys have had to deal with because you are Africans?
Oh, I have one.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
it was during the Ebola time. This kid, like I was like 8 years old, and this kid, I was minding my business, playing around the playground, and this kid comes up to me, starts pointing at me, and was like, "You have Ebola, you have Ebola," and then he started running around, laughing at me. I'm like, I don't have it. I don't even know what that is. And then he goes around like telling everybody that, and then one of my friends, he was like, you should tell the teacher. I'm like, I'm not going to tell the teacher because some kid wants to make fun of me for for who I am. Like it's not serious. He can just make fun of me. I don't care if it makes him happy. He can do that, but it's who he is and it's who I am. So
Thank you. What about you, Michelle?
For me, I think it's the challenges I face is I think I'll have to say it's both being African and also being American. Cuz like when you're at home, you're one person and when you go out, you have to be another person. So I think that's hard when I always have to switch up and be a different person. Like right now, how I'm talking, this is not how I am when I'm talking. So I'm like,
So are you being African right now or are you being American right
I'm
now?
being I'm being American because I'm trying to be like more tamer than I am because I'm a loud
Wild,
person.
is that what you're saying?
I'm a loud person and so yeah.
Can you bring out your American self a little bit?
No, you don't want that.
I don't want to see that one.
No.
Okay, so yours is more on like the balance between being African and being American. But why
Yeah.
do you have to pick a side though?
Because like they say there's like a time and place for everything guys. Like if I'm home I'm more comfortable and I can be myself, and then if I'm out in public I have to like feel like I have to present to myself in a way because like already Africans are viewed in a negative light most of the time. So if you're not acting right, they're like, oh, these Africans, like they just that's what they do. Like so you have to like be presentable in a way.
So you believe from your statement that that Americans are more presentable than Africans, not personally to you, but like what you believe that society thinks.
Yeah, because I've had like in school I went to school with 3 Ghanaian girls, and how we were when we're with each other, like everyone was like you notice people like you see them, they'll roll their eyes at you like, oh, they're Africans. I'm like,
But is that supposed to
I'm
mean?
like, what is it like? What is that supposed to be? I'm like, you're man. I'm like, you're Mexican. Like, what? Like, okay. But like, that's the thing. So I felt like after I graduated high school, I felt like I needed to change like the way I presented myself in public and indoors. So I had to. That's what I had to do.
Okay. What about you, Amma? What are some of the challenges that you've had to deal with as an African?
Yeah, I think it's like what she said. It's like, yeah, we're Africans, but like people here in like America, they see us as, blacks, like African Americans, and like I feel like they sometimes they don't even know like where we come from or who we are. They just, they're just biased because of the color of our skin. So, for me, it's like, yeah, like I have to act a certain way when like I'm outside than I am like at home, because you have to like have like your African parents. They say like, oh, you shouldn't wear this, you shouldn't say this or do this, like so that you're not seen as like the akatas, like you're not like them, or how they talk, or like for the guys, like they don't like it when like you like they're wearing earrings or style your hair a certain way, because they don't want you to be like identified as yeah, so I guess that's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Albert, are you comfortable enough to share?
I mean, I love what they brought to the table.
Okay.
Because they are
We're
correct.
definitely gonna get on that. So is that your challenge too?
Is
think
that
that's-
or more?
Yeah. Oh no, I was just saying. I think that's like a general challenge for like
Well, yeah.
Africans. Yeah, for everyone,
Because
especially African Americans and
correct.
yeah,
I mean,
people of color.
people of color, but focusing on us as
Yeah.
growing up in this country. I mean, we have so much to handle. We have to be at home. We have to be African.
Yes. Yes.
Outside, to other people, we are Black Americans. They can't tell the difference. They don't
Yeah.
know. They just won't do it. To Black Americans, we're African. So now we are dealing with all of this projection on us, and it's not anyone's entire fault per se, but it's just the reality, right? We go outside when we are with Black Americans, they see us as African. When we are with whites, Hispanic, Asians, we are just Black. And there's all these different things that we have to. They call it code switching, right? Code switching, professionalism, whichever. I mean, when you enter a white workspace, you have to become a professional.
Yeah,
You
the
put
way
on
you
the
speak,
visor,
the way you
the way you
talk,
take your mannerisms,
yeah.
your inflections, things like that. Your hair, the way you
Your hair.
dress.
That one.
We deal with these things. Unfortunately, I think we have it a little bit worse because sometimes we have to deal with it from our parents, and then we have to deal with it from outside, and it's very, very annoying.
Very annoying.
Because your own mother will tell you, why are you walking around with crumpled clothes? Iron your clothes. Then you go to work, and then a white person is telling you, I don't like the way your hair is.
Yeah.
I don't like the way your way you talk. You don't sound educated
You don't
enough.
sound proper.
You don't sound proper.
Oh,
And I'm
that
sitting here
one.
like, hey, yo, I have a bachelor's degree. What you mean? I'm
Like,
just saying. But it's like all of these things, they come at us, and I think that's the burden we have to carry, dealing with the melting pot of a generation we have, and just how confusing things can be. If you don't have the right vision, I mean, if you don't really understand who you are as a person, you're very, very, very likely to deviate from where you gotta go. You know, I mean, like you were saying about you at the Ebola crisis. And this was what, 7 years ago now? About 6 years ago. Between that and how people used to treat Africans who were here back then, when we were younger in elementary school, and people used to make fun of us. Oh man. Or even in middle school, and they used to make fun of the way we talked, or the way we looked, or the way we smelled when we came from home with the food our mothers were making. And I mean, I can go. I've had this conversation. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I've talked about this for like years, and all of these different things put together, and it's like out of nowhere, for some reason, I don't know what it was, they started accepting us a little bit more, Just a little bit more. It was just a small push in the envelope. And now it's like it went from oh you're African to oh wow you're African.
Yeah.
And it's like what changed? I'm still me. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's like a
Like,
huge
what
gap.
changed? Like, yo, did I?
No, I ain't light skinned.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm like,
Like,
But actually, that's a good question. What did change? I think was it the music?
it's
Or
part of it.
the
was
music,
culture.
yeah, and the
definitely
culture.
the
our
They
culture
started-
became more appealing.
Yeah.
Because it became more mainstream.
Yeah, mainstream. Yeah.
They didn't. I mean, people hate what they don't understand,
Yeah, that
or
is
they
so
will
true.
reject what they don't understand. So now they've begun to understand a little bit more, right? Obviously not complete, but now they. But there's a long way to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Still a long way to go.
so Sandy and Mr. Kwame, your challenges as Africans.
I would say, yeah, I guess with the African Americans, and I mean, but most of them, because they don't know, like they just assume, oh, like yeah, you're African, but the first thing they think of is like you're Nigerian. So then when
Yeah.
you say like, and I mean, to not their fault though, that's like, it's a sad part because I mean, like that's what they think. Like in their mind, they're like, yeah, like
That's
okay,
what-
you're just
That's,
yeah, that's
what they know. Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's like, yeah, and then it was the same thing with the name. Like, it would be like sometimes, like, it was getting to a point where they would just, oh, yeah, he's Nigerian, he's Nigerian. I wouldn't even correct them. I was like, you know what, I'll be Igbo today. Because what am I going to say? I'm Ghanaian.
Light skin,
Oh,
sir.
well,
You better take Yoruba.
I'm going to tell them I'm Ghanaian. And then they're going to ask, what country is that? Like, where is that at?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I know that's it.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
Mr. Kwame, what about you?
I mean, I love what everybody said, and there's a lot of things I picked up, especially what Michelle was saying, and what Albert also said. It's like code switching, and also it's like teetering between, you know, being Ghanaian or being African American or just being an individual. And I battled with that when I first moved here because I had a thick accent, you know. Pankrono man, yeah, otafo. I've been, you know, we speak English, but I just in school, you know. I'm not gonna speak English when I'm not in school.
Of course.
So when I moved here, yes, I was fluent in it. Oh, that was another thing. When people found out when did they find out? I started speaking English back when I was like 14 when I moved here, and they were like, "Oh, you're so fluent. How did you learn English?" And I'm like, "They taught us English in school. You know, we have education back there, right?
Yeah.
Where they teach us stuff." But so that was that, and to me, I vividly remember walking around speaking to people, and then they'll be like, "Huh, I can't hear you," and I'm like, "You can't hear me because of my accent? I can clearly hear what you're saying. How can you hear me?" So like back then, I got to battle with that. So I was like, I guess I have to change my accent. So I forced myself to change my accent to where people could at least understand what I was saying, and for the most part, I remember avoiding that question that, oh, I kind of didn't want to, I basically lived low key. I didn't want anybody to notice who I was, or because that would end up people posing the question, oh, you're African, what are you, where are you from, and all that stuff. And then the assumptions come in, you know, do you live in trees and where you came from? This guy, I remember, was 8th grade, stopped me in the middle of a hallway, you know. I just got to this, I'm trying to go to class. You know, my parents said I should go to class. I can't be late because they'll call my parents, and that can't happen, all right? So I'm going to class, history class, you know, Texas history. I love Texas. So I'm focused, marching, you know, and then this man stops me. I turn around, he asks me, so, vividly, word by word, bar for bar, he said, did you live on trees where you guys come from? And I remember looking at him and thinking, why do I have to deal with this? And I looked at him and I told him I have to go to class. And then and the same guy, mind you, this wasn't the only occasion where he did. The same guy asked me if we lived with lions where I come from. And I'm like, no, maybe in zoos or like what kind of question is that? And mind you, I hadn't seen a lion in person until I got to this country. Lions they're not even in Ghana. That's like anyways, that's besides the point. So with me it was much more kind of like a self-identity thing, where it's like, you know, you're teetering between, you know, do I present myself as a Ghanaian? Do I present myself as an African American? Or like, what do I present myself as? Because the world sees me as black.
Mhm.
My parents see me as Ghanaian.
Mhm.
Other colored people, especially African Americans, sees me as African.
Mhm.
And then if they find that out, it's like, oh, then I have to seclude him for who he is. And I'm over here presenting myself as just an individual. I am who I am, right?
Mhm.
And it's like I just want to be me. And
Yeah.
for the longest part, I struggle with that. But in the previous years now, I've just come to my own and just present myself as who I am. If they tend to ask me a question about, oh, you're Ghanaian, if they ask me unnecessary questions like that, I'll give you an unnecessary answer. If I feel kind enough, I'll explain to you that
Yeah. Educate
that is
them.
not nice. You know, you should be much more courteous in your questions, or just be much more knowledgeable. You know, you can't be a 21-year-old asking people if they live on trees where they come from.
Mhm. It's not
I can't
nice.
fathom that. You know, so it's just much more basically be more confident in who I am and being a Ghanaian, whilst also, you know, presenting myself as myself and not just trying to hide who I am from people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this brings me to my next questions for you guys. So, do you guys think there's a difference between us Africans and Akata people or African Americans?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh huh.
That's not even a debate. What is that?
I think there is, but there shouldn't be.
There's a huge.
There is, but I mean the reality,
Why do you think there shouldn't be?
because
There should
I
be
mean there are Okay, obviously they're not Africans like they were born there, but deep down in their ancestry and stuff, they can track that their people came from Africa. So, but they like, and society has done a good job of pushing that and dividing us. But and that's the sad part. That's the thing. They don't.
I'm
Like-
gonna really ask you like a tough one. So, if your African parents meet you with your Akata friend, do you want them to see both of you as equal? I mean, as the same in character?
My parents?
Yeah, when an African parent see you, or when an African sees you guys, do you think you guys should be like considered the same?
Equal.
I mean, I would say
Not
yes.
equal, because that would be
No.
like putting value on the
Discriminatory,
person,
yeah.
But like
Mm.
you guys are the same in terms of like character and actions and deeds and all that.
Oh yeah, of course. But
Yeah, I would say yes.
You say yes.
Yeah.
I'll bet why.
ideally, yes. But
No, don't
I know,
speak
I
ideas.
did.
That's what I was gonna say. I think. I
But
think.
we're all
Yeah, go
African
ahead.
Americans. Like we've like
the first
we
generation.
are all like in this culture. Like a lot of us were like Africans were brought here either at a young age or whatever age, and
Yeah.
we've grown accustomed to this
Country.
society, to the culture here. Well, yeah. So like, I think so.
When I asked the question if you guys believe there's a difference between us and African Americans, you guys all said, of course. Like somebody even woke up from their nap. So what is it that makes you guys so certain or so sure, so confident that we're different from African Americans?
I mean, it's not like we're different, as in, because I feel like that ascertains like we're.
Okay.
It kind of has like a
A
connotation
negative-
under it.
Yeah.
A negative connotation under it.
Okay.
To me, it comes also again. It comes back to culture, where our parents can't give us that culture. They can, or to me, I mean, I was born there, so I came with it, But to the other individuals that were born here and haven't had the opportunity to go back home yet, their parents are still able to, speak to them in Chi or Ewe or Gao, whatever language they have, or Nigerians speak to them in Igbo or whatever other languages that the other Africans speak. Whereas in a regular African American home, their parents can't necessarily give them that culture because this is what they know, the African American culture, which unfortunately the roots, the further back you go, the worse it gets, right? And I was actually thinking about this I was not longer than a month ago, and how sad it is that they demeaned Africans so much that we changed in the 400 year span, even longer, that we changed, and the people that they shipped from home here they forgo who they were.
Yeah.
They just like let go of the African side. They let go of their language. They let go of everything else, and just became.
Because they were stripped from
It's like
it.
they became a different. They
Yeah.
literally became a different culture. It's actually very intriguing.
Different people.
Yeah, they became
Completely different.
exactly. They became a different. They became different people, even though we are the same, we're also different. If that kind of, I don't know if that really makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like the culture that they grew up with is very different from the culture that we tend to grow up with. Yeah.
Okay, so what about when it comes to mindset? Do you guys believe, especially like with Africans that are born here and the ones that came when they're much younger, do you think there's a difference in the mindset of them versus African Americans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
In what way?
I feel like our mindset comes from our parents, like Africans, like most of them comes from like our parents and how they were raised. So they try to put that on us too as well. So I feel like because like the way they want us to be, like they want us to be a certain way, you know, they want us to have, they brought us here for good opportunities. They want us to do a good job here, not mess up our lives and do things in a way that like doesn't, you know, just I'm trying to explain it, but I don't know. It's kind of hard though too, cause it's like the mindset, like in a way, yes, but no. If that makes any sense. I have to think about it.
Okay, that's fine. Michelle, you want to say something to that? Yeah, what is the difference between the mindset of African Americans and Africans that were born here or that came at a very young age?
I think it it stems from like your parents because like the way your parents think, that's how you grow up thinking too till you get old enough to form your own ideas. So like, I think it stems from your parents.
Okay, okay. What about you, Abby?
I would say, yeah, it does come from our parents and how they want us to be better than who they were as they were growing up. They want us to have more. But for Black Americans, for them, I would say for their parents, they just want them to at least go somewhere, to be somewhere in life and not be who they were. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. What about you guys? Anything you guys want to add to that?
I mean, yeah. Like for us, there's a difference. Our families make a large sum of who we are, and our influence from them is great. I mean, it's enough for us to go higher and higher and higher and higher in income and socioeconomic status and all these different things, simply because the motivations that they have, whether it was our parents or their parents, it's not too long ago we first came to this country, right? So the motivations that they have for us is to continue to, push the envelope and become more successful and more sustainable for ourselves, so that we can give back to our families and to, be prosperous, right? For African Americans, a decent amount of them think similarly, but they have a lot of external factors that have affected them. A decent amount of them are disgruntled, right? A decent amount of them don't have the I don't know. I don't want to say education level because that's almost demeaning, but it's like the resources, or I would say the mindset to think the way we do,
Okay.
right? Where they are here, they have their communities, they have their culture, they have their lifestyle. The fear to take a chance on yourself and on your family, that risk for them, I think they perceive it as greater than we may perceive it for ourselves. Even though for us it's like our parents, they took a huge risk of coming to this country. Because I don't want to say it's, well, this is hard because it's not fair if I say it's we're not better than anyone. I don't want to say that either.
We're not.
But they have a lot of things that have gone against them, that have hindered their progress. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So
Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
I would say, yeah, we get our identity, or like Africans in general, you have your identity from your parents. So, like, just with your name, when you go around places, wherever you go, and that's who you are. Like, your last name, that's your identity. and so and yeah, you also have that perspective. But I think the African Americans, a lot of them. I mean, I can see why it's easier for them to have like a victim mindset. So because you have oppression from everything, and so it's difficult. And then I mean, also on the flip side too, coming from their perspective, they could also say like, I mean, Africans, sometimes when you see them, you're like, I mean, like, why are you doing this thing? Like, but I mean, from the way they came up and stuff like that, like that's what they know. Even though to us, and society, it might look bad, but if they were brought up that way, yeah, I mean, that's all they know.
That's what they
So that's
know.
what.
Okay. Okay, what about you, Mr. Kwame?
I think the first thing that popped into my mind was kind of nature versus nurture type thing,
Okay.
where again it goes. I'll go back down to culture because I see it in myself as well, where the things I saw growing up, even though it may not have been as gruesome as the things my parents saw,
Mm-hmm.
it's still much more visible to me because I still,
Yeah.
I hate to say this, I still remember fetching water in the morning, in the morning before going to school. I vividly remember one day I was gonna go to school without taking a shower, and my grandma yelled at me, and I had to use. You remember sachet water? I had to use half a pack of sachet water to shower, and I was very
Wow.
angry because I'm like, so unnecessary. I'm gonna be late, and when you're late,
You're gonna
you're gonna
get
get caned.
spanking.
And nobody
Yeah.
want to get caned either. If I want to get caned, it's because of a low grade. I'm not gonna get a low grade either. So I avoid getting caned as possible. Anyways, that's besides the point. Um, to me, and like to the, it plays a really a much bigger role because I think we both do have the same goal, which is to get out of the situations that our families and our people are in. However, the motivation behind that is different, and also the struggles we both face. We face similar struggles. However, there's it kind of becomes like a dichotomous key where when it breaks out, because African Americans they tend to live in there because of how American history. They basically kind of segregated them, us segregated us, and African Americans tend to come from similar communities where they basically the way the system is built, they can't make it out of those community. And then you may blame it on victim mindset or whatnot. It's very hard for you to come out of that. However, you go back to our culture, right? And then you see the way we came up and people living on farms where like my family doesn't own a farm. Or I can't survive. If your family doesn't own a farm, you're done. It's like that's you don't have any resources, right?
Yeah.
And I remember my grandparents always tell me that we don't own a farm, so you have to get your education. And I'm like, oh my days. All right, cool. And like you look at that, you look at that perspective, and it's like, okay, so we have to make it out of there as well. So it's like those um, motivations vary, and the fact that our parents also took a chance and going to a whole different country just to give you success also it that kind of sets you apart in a different way. To is like either you have like success for you is there's no other like route. Either you have to succeed. There's like
You
failure
either
is not
succeed
even
or you succeed.
you either succeed or you succeed. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of that's how
Okay.
I think about it.
Okay, so guys, we're gonna have part two because we just started the topic. But finally, before we end the part one, do you guys believe that Africans have better supports than African Americans do?
Supports by which?
Like
Where?
in terms of whatever we want to do. 'Cause
Like
here we
family
are talking about
support.
motivations that push us forward in progressing in life. And he was saying that because of our culture and our background, things are way a bit different than it is for the African American. So say as an African, when you want to go somewhere, or not even when you want to go somewhere, you have to go somewhere. Just as he said, we don't have a choice but to succeed, because that was the point, or that was the purpose. Our parents abandoned all that they had, and all that they knew, and they came here. So in us trying to pursue greater things for our lives, do you guys believe that we have more support in terms of that than African Americans, or do you guys think we all share the same level of support?
Yes, I would say. What was I gonna say? I forgot. But I would say similar levels, but different reason. I mean, like different
Ways.
Motivation.
support systems. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I wouldn't say we have more support than them. That would be unfair to them. Because I mean, similar as we go home to our parents working 12-hour shifts for no reason, they also go home to their parents probably also working a 12-hour shift or working multiple jobs as well. they have to go back to like their houses and their neighborhoods, just as we have to go back to our houses and our neighborhoods. You know, we may have family that calls us from home, you know, or either pet TV. We hear people yell at us and see the problems that goes on in our country like every day. They also see the problems that goes on in their communities every day from their families and
Uh-huh.
their their friends and their community as well. So I think it's just a variable support system. I wouldn't say one is better than the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Sandy? Do you believe that you have more support as an African than your counterpart African American friend does?
I wouldn't say I have more support per se. I would say I have an advantage though, because if you, I mean, you're coming, you have to think like our parents and us. We came from a different country, so we know a different way of life. And coming here, you can, learn things, but you can take what works, what you learn from your country here. But on the flip side, they don't have that. Like most of them, a lot of people haven't even traveled outside of their states and stuff like that. So they don't really have an. They only have, for the most part, I want to say one perspective, and all the news and media and society, everything that's filled in, is kind of like a bubble. So we only have. I would say they only have like the first world bubble or whatnot. So I would say we would have an advantage.
Okay. What about you, Albert?
One more time the question.
Do you think that Africans have more support than African Americans?
Like Sandy said, I mean, perspective is key. I think because we've seen two worlds, at least, right? When when a person travels or a person encounters a new environment, they gain more perspective, right? When you see how other people live, I think that, and you've somehow been some form of ingratiation within it, you begin to understand like, okay, these people live like this. This is how these other people live. This is how I have lived. Where do I want to be, or where do I want to end up? And I think for them is that a decent amount of them may not see as far as we do. In terms of when I say see far, I mean seeing the other side of the bridge or the other end of the end of the tunnel or things like that. I think we have the ability to do that because our perspective comes from Ghana to America and seeing the difference between the two, and seeing when you come to America, you see like we see more of the opportunity that's available, and we are more inclined to grasp and try to obtain that opportunity. When you're conditioned within that opportunity, you don't necessarily see it for what it actually can be. I don't want to say it's like they're taking it for granted, because not always are they doing that. But it's more like I don't know the word for this. But as you see it, and it's like, oh, it's there, but it's out of reach. But for us, it's within. We believe it's within reach. It's like
Because we want it so
because we
bad.
want it so bad.
Okay.
It's within reach. I guess that's the difference.
Okay. All right, what about you? Do you believe that you have more support as an African than your counterpart African Americans
Um,
in trying to achieve whatever you want to in life?
I think. Mm, hmm. Do you mind skipping me?
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Michelle, go ahead.
Do you mean like career wise or
Yes,
just
in terms of everything that you want
like
to do in
for
life.
me? I think I can't speak for someone else 'cause I don't know. But for me personally, I think I have a lot of support when it comes to my family wise, because my dad has this understanding that everyone is different and everyone works differently and everyone will achieve what they have to achieve when is their time. So I have more support as in the fact that I can do whatever I set my mind to, they will support me no matter what. Yeah.
Thank you. What about you, Abby? Do you believe that you have more support from your African family and community as a whole than an African American?
I feel like we all have the same support, but to me, I feel like I have more support because it's like I have to get to the top. I have to be at the highest that I can be and not give up. But then when you look on the African Black American side, like I'm not stereotypical in them, but I would say that they don't have to be all the way at the top. They don't have to work as hard as we do to help our families back home, but they have to work hard for their families
Themselves.
here, which they can also not have to try that hard. They just have to get somewhere in life.
Okay. All right, Amma.
Yeah, I think I would say the same thing. Like, I don't think like we like as Africans have more support than the African Americans. I think it's um well, it can go one or the other, cuz I would say like yeah, I can have support, but I might not have like the resources to get there. Some people might have the resources, but they won't have the support. So, I don't know, I think it's like half and half. So,
Okay.
that's what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess at the end of the day, we all believe that being African American and being African is different, but not in terms of everything. And then when it
Mhm.
comes to support, we all do have support, but in different ways or in
Mhm.
different aspects. And like you guys said, yes, as Africans, we don't even have a choice. Like our parents make sure that we don't have a choice,
Mhm.
but to succeed in life, and that's the motivation. Whether you're happy with it or not, that is what is on you. You wake up in the morning or when your alarm rings and you don't want to wake up to go to school or to go to work or to do better, you're thinking, or the sound of your mom's voice comes to your head, or your dad's like angry face will appear in your mind. So you just nicely get up and then get ready and head out and do what you need to do. Versus African American, like you guys said, they are here, so they don't have, I guess, in a way, they don't have people dependent on them outside of themselves and outside of where they are. And so they will try as we're trying, but it's not a do or die affair. And for
Mhm.
us, it's a you better do it or you're going to die when you get home affair, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So finally, before we go, I'm going to start from Abby. That last thing you want to say to everybody watching us, I don't know, anything that you want to say about the conversation we've had, or if you want to give a shout out to anybody watching, and then we go down the line like that.
I would say that African parents sometimes needs to like lower down the pressure that they put on
On the
us,
ex-
because sometimes it's too much.
Okay.
And then the people outside of our African parents, they also put pressure on us, and then sometimes it just breaks down our
Overwhelming.
mental state. And so
Mhm.
sometimes they just need to calm down and let us find who we are and our identity.
Thank you. Well said.
Mhm.
Michelle.
For me, one thing I would say is that African parents need to listen to their kids when they say something is wrong, because mental health is very important, and I think that's one thing they don't take seriously, and I need to understand that that's important. Yeah.
Thank you.
I would say like yeah, African parents, I feel like they should really get to know their kids, to get to know their children, and yeah, not to put too much like expectations on us, because everyone is different. And yeah, you brought us here, so you want us to prosper, you want us to take care of you, and we understand that. But at the end of the day, it's like it's our lives, so we're gonna make our own journeys, and we're gonna get to the place we want to be. And I feel like they should try to understand us, and like and us too. We should also try to understand our parents too and where they're coming from, because they came from a whole different, lifestyle, whole different like culture and stuff like that. They still have the same mindset and stuff that they did back home, and so I think it's yeah all about like trying like understanding each other. And for us who are like still in school, yeah, let's keep going. Let's not look at anyone else. Um, because everyone has like their own journey. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Albert.
Hmm.
Any last words? Oh, you have a book. I'm just
Uh,
kidding. We have part two, so you can just say your last words for today.
my last one. No, I love the mental health that you brought up, Michelle. That was very good. Mental health is a very serious issue.
Mhm.
Um, that not only affects us as children,
Young
children,
ones.
but also as it can affect our parents and the
Mhm.
generational curses these people like to bring onto us.
Yes.
That's another topic for another day. And but these, um, growing up in this country and the expectations that are on us, that our parents put on us, they can be very daunting
Yeah.
and they can be very, very stressful. Um, I think parents should. I was talking about this with my mom last night. You know, sometimes these expectations can break a child, not just
Mhm.
make one, right? Um, allow your children to evolve into who they are and understand them
Mhm.
the same way we will work to understand our parents.
Yeah.
But then also, you know, understand that your home is very important. Your home environment is very, very
Mhm.
important. That's what's gonna be like the foundation for how the child works when they're outside the home. So make sure your home environment is good, but please be very careful not to, I don't know. There has to be a balance. There has to be a balance.
Yeah.
Please don't lock your child in the room. Like don't do that. Let your child go play sports or let your child go do arts and crafts and things.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying. But don't.
Don't hear it in an African
But
vocabulary.
let your child,
Some leisure.
leisure activities that go
Grow
beyond
to
just
grow. Yeah.
just the academics and the books. So the books are very important, and those are always going to be ground one, ground zero, whatever. But don't kill your kids, please. But also motivate them and inspire them
Mhm.
to be better people, be better than you. All right.
So that means I beg no African parent want to kill their children. Maybe with
They
academics
do
and
unintentionally.
education.
They do unintentionally. Do unintentionally.
Okay, at the very end, I will ask this question. But Sandy, what are your last words?
I know, yeah, similar to what he said, just try and be proactive in their lives because, you don't know what they're going through. And sometimes they're just, the small things, maybe if they did something good, just tell them, oh, like you did a good job on that, or, I really appreciate you doing this for me, or something like that. And same thing, I mean, we can say, like, sometimes you just give them a compliment, or, I appreciate what
And to
you're
say
doing for
sorry,
me, or something.
apologize.
Yeah,
To your
apologize.
children. Apologize to your
Apologize to your
children.
children. Yes.
You make a mistake, apologize.
They just look at you and walk away.
They walk away. There's not even a cue.
But they should start learning.
Oh, Kafra.
No, Kafra is sorry.
Uh-huh.
That's for injury.
Yeah.
Kafra is please.
Yeah.
What is your last word? Is this my bachelor an injury?
First, I'd like to thank you guys for inviting me. What I would say, I love what each of us brought to the table during the conversation, also at the end. To me, I'll add on to what Sandy also just said. Build relationships with your families. Build relationships with your children, and children build relationships with your parents. As your kids get older, like I was saying, self identity. You always have to know who you are and what you're doing and what you want to accomplish in this world. And like Albert said, your house affects that, your family affects that, and after it goes out of that, it's like your friends and also people you surround yourself affect that. But always charity begins at home. Yes, charity does begin at home. So in order for you and like for a parent and also for a child to succeed, it really a strong relationship between them two can overcome almost anything. And I think if as a family or as a Ghanaian household, as an African household, if there's better communication, there's a better relationship where the kid knows they're loved, but they also hear it. the kid knows that they're cared for, but they hear, all the little sentiments that we talked about,
Yeah.
apology and all the other stuff.
Words of
You know,
affirmation.
kids also studying their parents and also understanding that they also did come from a different world. They understand the boundaries that they have to breach. They understand that they do have to teach their parents certain things, while also understanding that they have to respect their parents because they are elderly. They are your parents. You can't say okay and then go on and not listen to them. You can't say yeah, whatever, I don't care and move on. You have to listen and of course obey what they say, while also bringing your end to the table and letting them understand your mindset. And I think in the midst of that, also being comfortable in your own skin and being who you are. And on the other table, like your parents accepting you for who you are and not, shutting that down because they have an ideology of what you should become. Because
Yeah.
they kind of tend to project because that's what they thought. Some parents think that that's what they should have been, but they couldn't because they didn't have the resources. Yeah, the end.
And please, if your child is afraid to tell you about something that happened to them or maybe a mistake that happened in their lives, something crazy, and because of your overreaction, then something needs to be
Yeah.
corrected there.
Yeah,
Because
very.
how many times have we had something that happened that we can't tell our parents because they're gonna
So many.
detonate like a
Yeah.
nuclear bomb?
Okay, you
Saying.
people, this is not Dr. Phil, okay? I'm just kidding. yeah, that was very
He said it got
personal.
personal.
But we're gonna come for part 2 on June the 20th, which is Father's Day. But our segment is going to be very interesting. Maybe we might add some adults to the panel, and it's going to be quite interesting. So you guys prepare yourself, and just know that there is not going to be any words of affirmation. And after the show, there will be no apologies. Don't be expecting any. No kafra, no me pachobia. No.
Oh my gosh.
But I have one last question for you guys, and that will be right before we get off air. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that is watching us live today. And whenever you watch this show, I hope you will learn something. I hope you will enjoy the discussions that we've had. And I hope, honestly, that we will be open-minded to everything that we said here. These are the lives of young Africans. This is the struggles. These are the aspirations. These are the hopes. These are the ideologies that we live life with. And so please learn something out of it and help somebody with it as well. Please remember to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching us on Facebook, the name of the channel is Owusua TV. Owusua TV. Owusua TV is OWUSUA. Again, it's OWUSUA. If you cannot pronounce Owusua, it's fine. Just type it and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much. Please remember again, we're going to be live on June the 20th, which is Father's Day in 2 weeks' time. Remember, anytime I'm on the show, every African outfit that you see me wearing is from O&O Signature. O&O Signature. You can follow us on Instagram at O Signature, and on Facebook is OO Signature. You can also follow Owusua TV on Facebook and on Instagram at Owusua TV. Simple and short as that. Those looking for gifts for their dads, please contact Owusua or O&O at 469-769-2306. Again, it's 469-769-2306. Even if you're looking for something to give to any guy that is a father figure in your life, we have you covered. If you want to get something for yourself, shoot. It's Father's Day. You can celebrate yourself. You can contact me as well. I have sandals, I have clothes, I have jewelry, accessories, anything that you could possibly think of. Again, it's O&O Signature. Thank you all so much for joining us. Remember to subscribe. And before we go, you guys tell me, who here can tell me they have not benefited from the spankings of their parents? Who?
In some
Benefited?
way.
Uh-huh.
Like
Okay.
I'm good for it.
Like, it didn't help you, or it's not helped you in a way. Who can honestly tell
I
me
mean,
it's not?
Of course, there's always pros and cons.
Yeah.
I'm
there's
not
always
talking about
pros
the
and
cons
cons,
today.
yeah.
It's just the pros.
Just the pros?
Yeah.
Well, we can't do that. I can't just talk about the positive and leave out the negative.
Yeah,
'Cause
no negatives.
As
today.
much as you learn, there's also remnants of what you learn from them.
Sir,
that
Yeah.
do you want to go home and apologize after the show?
no kafras will be given.
So you better just Be
So
on
long
the
story
positive
short,
side.
yes.
You guys agree, right?
Yeah, if we're
I would
talking
say
pros,
no
yeah, like
because
pros.
I was never beaten as a child.
You never had spankings?
No, I was never
Se
beaten,
pone pa.
This one is
Wow, she's special.
this one is
and I turned out fine.
She's white. You turned out white.
I turned out
That was
fine.
me.
Like,
This is not an authentic
What?
African here.
That-
Because if
man.
you're, what makes you an African?
I don't think it's being beaten. That does not make you African.
It sure is. Yes, it sure is. Okay, so then lastly, these are the comments. Mr. SKT said, yeah, it's evident that the young Africans are being careful in expressing their thoughts because despite free, anything we say is subject to scrutiny and criticism.
Criticism.
Criticism
Criticism.
or critique, whichever.
There you go, what he said. I'll bet you want to say it. You want to say the word?
What was the word? Criticism. Criticism.
Abby, you want to try it?
Criticism. Onaba.
Michelle, go ahead. You
I
back.
was just monkeying.
Mama.
What have I done?
Criticism.
Sandy.
Criticism.
Kwame.
Critiques.
Critiques.
Criticism.
This poor guy's getting laughed at.
at. You see how people
It's
struggle.
not even a big word. Yeah, I know. Criticism. 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 Criticism.
Don't mind her.
Sem crying go school.
Yo.
What's that YouTube sign? Jeez.
Mrs. Tina Frimpong said, I'm watching. And Mr. Samuel Kodra said, nice topic, Abna. Kofi Black, Uncle Black, he said, keep on the good work, partner in crime. Good topic. And those are all. I hope at least if you didn't learn anything, you learn how to say
Criticism.
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 Critiques.
Michelle, you didn't say it. Correct?
No.
She has braces. It's
slowly.
okay.
I know how to say it.
Okay, say it.
Just not the African, like not the
Okay,
American
say
version.
the American version.
No,
Criticism.
Say-
Criticism.
Rescind her degree.
I know, Michelle. I know you wouldn't be educated.
Say it.
Okay, no,
Criticism.
I can say it.
Say it. Say it in tree.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Wait.
Michelle, it's okay. Relax and say it so we can end the show for the day.
It translates to hey. That's how you know the criticism is coming.
Go ahead.
She said it.
All say it together. 1, 2, 3, go.
Criticism.
Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful and blessed week, and we look forward to sitting and talking again on June the 20th. Thank you. Look forward to sitting and
Abedimpo.
talking again.
Kwame Kofi Kinata. Move on, baby. Move.
Oh, na, 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 yeah.
Abedimpo. Kwame
Go
Kofi
Rising
Kinata.
Sun.
Move on, baby. Move.
Oh, na, na,
Abedimpo.
na, yeah.
Kwame Kofi Kinata. Move on,
Go
baby.
Rising
Move.
Sun.